revolutionary group called the Irish Republican Brotherhood, the IRB, and that was dedicated to achieving Irish independence through force of arms. So these guys were physical force revolutionaries, and no truer than O'Donovan Rossa. In 1865, O'Donovan Rossa with his comrade John Devoy, where the little hedge is, they get arrested and they're going to serve years in prison. 2 years after they were arrested, the IRB went ahead with a rebellion in 1867. And eventually, with those men in prison for so many years, treated very harshly, they were given a choice. You can stay in prison for the next 15 years, you know what that entails, or you can leave prison, but you can never come back to Ireland or the UK. So they choose that, they choose self-exile, they go off to America, and they end their days as old men off in New York and places like that. No truer than in his story. He dies in New York in the summer of 1915 at the age of 85. And eventually, then, when his body was brought back to Glasnevin Cemetery on August 1st, a massive funeral was held that day. Now, why did they bring his body back? The IRB saw the value in organising a massive funeral for him. You'll have to remember, 100 years ago, you couldn't just simply stroll down O'Connell Street and say, this is our political beliefs. You would have been bat and charged off the streets, but you could attend a funeral. So the IRB, the Irish Volunteers, the Irish Citizen Army, they come together and they plan his funeral. Patrick Pearse was given the honour of delivering the funeral oration. It would go down as one of the most famous speeches in Irish history. And even those who planned that rebellion, they would soon become household names in Ireland within the next year or so. So today, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of Glasnevin Trust, we have an oration to give you a sense of what it would have been like to have been here August 1st, 1915, to hear the words of Patrick Pearse. So, ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
It has seemed right, before we turn away from this place in which we've laid the mortal remains of O'Donovan Rossa, that one amongst us should, in the name of all, speak the praise of that valiant man, and endeavour to formulate the thought and the hope that are in us as we stand around his grave. And if there's anything that makes it fitting that I, rather than some other, rather than one of the grey-haired men who are young with him and who shared in his labour and his suffering should speak here, it is perhaps that I may be taken as speaking on behalf of a new generation that has been rebaptised in the Fenian faith and that has accepted responsibility of carrying out the Fenian programme. Here now, I propose that by the grave of this unrepentant Fenian, we renew our baptismal vows. That here by the grave of this unconquered and unconquerable man, we ask of God, each one for himself, such unshakable purpose, such high and gallant courage, such unbreakable strength of soul as belonged to O'Donovan Rossa. Deliberately here now, we avow ourselves, as he avowed himself in the dock, Irish men of one allegiance only. We of the Irish Volunteers, and you others who are associated with us in today's task and duty, are bound together and must stand together henceforth in brotherly union for the achievement of the freedom of Ireland. And we know only one definition for freedom. It's Tone's definition. It's Mitchell's definition. It's Rossa's definition. And let no man blaspheme against the cause that the dead generations of Ireland have served by giving it any other name and definition than their name and their definition. We stand at Rossa's grave today, not in sadness, but rather in exaltation of spirit, that it has been given to us to come thus into so close a communion with that brave and splendid Gael. Splendid and holy causes are served by men who are themselves splendid and holy. O'Donovan Rossa was splendid in the proud manhood of him, splendid in the heroic grace of him, splendid in the Gaelic strength and clarity and truth of him. And all that splendour and pride and strength was compatible with a humility and a simplicity of devotion to Ireland, to all that was olden and beautiful and Gaelic in Ireland. The simplicity and holiness of patriotism of a Michael O'Clery or an Owen O'Growney. Through his clear eyes alone in his day, he visioned Ireland as we of today would surely have her. Not free merely, but Gaelic as well. Not Gaelic merely, but free as well. In a closer spiritual communion with him now than ever before, or perhaps ever again, in communion of spirit with those of his day, living and dead, who suffered with him in English prisons. In communion of spirit too with our own dear comrades who suffer in English prisons today, we pledge to Ireland our love, and we pledge to English rule in Ireland our hate. This is a place of peace, sacred to the dead, where men should speak with all charity and with all restraint. But I hold it a Christian thing, as O'Donovan Rossa held it, to hate evil, to hate untruth, to hate oppression, and hating them, to strive to overthrow them. Our foes are strong and wise and wary, but strong and wise and wary as they are, they cannot undo the miracles of God, who ripens in the hearts of young men the seed sown by young men of a former generation. And the seeds sown by the young men of 65 and 67 are coming to their miraculous ripening today. The rulers and defenders of the realm had need to be wary if they would guard against such processes. Life springs from death, and from the graves of patriot men and women spring living nations. The defenders of the realm have worked well in secret and in the open. They think they have pacified Ireland. They think they have purchased half of us and intimidated the other half. They think they have foreseen everything. They think they have provided against everything. But the fools, the fools, the fools, they have left us our Fenian dead. And while Ireland holds these graves, Ireland unfree shall never be at peace.